Hello guys, it's Alex here, and today I'm going to show you a trap in the center attack, part of the Italian game. So the trap is very quick. It starts after the move pawn to e4, black plays e5, and then after knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4 marks the beginning of the Italian game. Here, black has two major responses. The first option is the classical response, which is bishop c5. This is the classical Italian game. And the second option is knight f6, which would be the two knights defense. In this case, black is playing bishop to c5, and white continues with the move pawn to c3. This is known as the Giuoco Piano, or the quiet game in Italian. Black now develops his knight to f6, and white plays pawn to d4. This makes sense because with his last move, white was preparing an advance to try and control most of the center. In chess, in the opening, there are some core principles, and one of the biggest principles is that you should fight for the center as much as possible. Here, centuries of Italian game theory have proven that black has only one really good move in this position, and that is to capture the pawn on d4. At first sight, this might seem scary because after c takes d4, white now has two pawns in the center, in the core center, which is the squares e4, d4, d5, and e5, and black has none. In addition to this, black's bishop is en prise or under attack. However, black has one very important move in this position, which saves the day for him. He has the move bishop to b4 check. As a result, after white answers this check, black typically can capture this pawn on e4 because the pawn is undefended. Because of this, the move pawn to d4 has fallen out of fashion at the grandmaster level because white now realizes just how strong this check is. However, in the old days, and still to this day at the club level, many players make the mistake of dropping the bishop back to b6. Now, the idea is that after pawn takes e5, the knight is under attack, but the pawn on e4 is undefended. So knight takes e4 follows, and here, material is equal. Each side has won a pawn. On top of that, black has a strong threat to capture on f2, which, if possible, would create a fork against white's queen and rook. However, it's white to play, and here he has two strong moves available to him. The problem for black is that his knight is in enemy territory. By that I mean it's in the white half of the board. And on top of this, it's undefended. So white can actually take advantage of this in two different ways. The first way is he can capture this pawn on f7 with check. Now, when black recaptures, the king is more exposed. And now the knight and the king are both vulnerable, and white follows with queen d5 check. He will recover his sacrificed piece, and he will end up a pawn to the good. Besides this, he has an even stronger move. He can just play the move queen to d5 directly. This move creates the threat on the knight, and it also creates a devastating threat on f7, because if queen takes f7 is played, it will be checkmate. So black does not have time to take on f2 because white will play queen takes f7, checkmate. Black would like to be able to deal with both threats at the same time, but the two ways in which he could maybe think of doing this, knight to g5 would defend the pawn and move the knight away, is not possible because white would simply capture the knight. The second way would be to go knight back to d6, defending the pawn this way. Again, it's not possible because of the white pawn on e5. So this position, black will lose at a minimum a full piece, this knight on e4, and so he can already resign. So this is a famous and simple trap, first written down by the Italian Gioacchino Greco in the 17th century. It's a beginner's trap, but hopefully if you weren't aware of it, then you can catch out some opponents in the future with it, or at least make sure that you yourself don't fall for this trap. So hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one.